the Arizona border. This border situation has become a political powder keg, with both sides of the aisle using it as ammunition.
Okay.
Don't move! Don't move right now!
A hot spot for illegal crossings.
Hands up! Hands up!
All right, we're on Smuggler's Highway, and they have stopped a load vehicle, which is a car carrying illegals, human trafficking. The cartels are actually recruiting American teenagers.
Yeah, these kids are all recruited through social media.
Face down! Is there anyone in the car? Trunk?
Nobody in Washington, D.C. wants to hear us. They're worried about partying, they're worried about re-election. We have a problem, this country has a problem. And
Well, you understand that's why I'm here. This border situation has become a political powder keg, with both sides of the aisle using it as ammunition in this upcoming election. But tonight, we're focusing on the Arizona border. With 378 miles of shared border with Mexico, divided into the Tucson and Yuma sectors, Arizona has become a hotspot for illegal crossings. In fiscal year 2023, Arizona had more than 775,000 illegal border crossers, and at least 200,000 were gotaways. That's a whole lot of people sneaking into our country undetected. I bet you've not heard of a stretch of road called Smuggler's Highway. This is a remote, treacherous stretch of desert where temperatures can soar to a blistering 118 degrees. Smugglers are leading migrants through this hellish terrain, putting lives at risk and overwhelming our Border Patrol agents. The drugs and people being trafficked through this highway are ending up in cities all across America. We're talking about dangerous narcotics and vulnerable individuals being exploited right under our noses.
The I-10 freeway crosses the Pinal County line 71 miles north of the Mexican border. I want to show you what my deputies deal with every day.
It looks like I'm gonna have a bailout. I'm gonna have one male subject running northbound into the field.
Manos arriba! Manos arriba! I get the feeling these guys just crossed the border.
No.
You have 4 illegals in your car? Don't look at me like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Officials have been seeing an increase in the number of undocumented immigrants crossing the southern border.
22 people have been charged in Arizona for trying to recruit young people for human smuggling.
Using social media platforms such as Snapchat to hire teens and even kids.
Cochise County Sheriff's deputies pulled over a car driven by 19-year-old Eli LeClaire of Mesa. 18-year-old Landon Vert of Gilbert was in the passenger seat. Deputies found 5 undocumented immigrants in the car.
Children as young as 12 have been detained by law enforcement in southern Arizona for picking up migrants at the border.
Tucson Sector Border Patrol apprehended more than 7,000 undocumented immigrants this week. They also performed 15 rescues and stopped 24 human smuggling operations.
It's a complex issue that's affecting families from the border all the way to the heartland. So I headed to Pinal County, Arizona, to see for myself what's going on down there. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Good to see you.
Great to see you as well.
Dr. Phil, how are you?
Mark Lamb, nice to
Good
meet
to
you.
meet you. Thank you so much for
It is our pleasure.
hosting us here. We want to tell this story.
Well, we appreciate you telling the story.
Well, it's important. I'll tell you what, I'm so passionate about this.
As am I. And I love that you're passionate about it too, because we've been trying to spread this message as much as we can. So let me introduce you to Amanda. This is one of our good deputies.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Amanda. Thank you so much for being here.
She is part of our anti-smuggling unit. So 100% of the work that she does is dedicated to stopping the trafficking of humans and drugs and all the other stuff.
And the square miles that you guys have to cover, I don't know how in the world you do it.
With good people.
And rough terrain to boot.
Rough terrain.
Yeah.
And to think that many of them traverse that rough terrain through the deserts.
Do you find some of them out there that just succumb to the heat?
We actually had a couple months ago, we had a call for a lady that was left behind by the cartels. Well, by the time we got there, we were actually doing a dead body removal. And yeah, a lot of them do succumb to the heat. And speaking of the heat, we ought to get you out of it and get out and hit some trafficking areas.
I'm tougher than a boot, but
I don't doubt you are.
All right, let's do it. So tell me about the Smuggler's Highway.
So the I-10 has become the smuggler's highway. I would say the majority of the drugs, the fentanyl in America, a lot of the people at some point came through Pinal County before they got.
Well, there's been a huge upturn in the amount of fentanyl that you guys have been seizing. I'm not trying to politicize this, but since the Biden administration and the position he took on the border, DEA tells me that the amount of seizures have gone up just multiples.
The DEA seized 78 million pills, of the which nearly 50 million of them were here in Arizona.
Are the drugs the biggest business, or are the people the biggest business?
So prior to this administration coming in, prior to 2021, the drugs was the business. The reason they went from 500 million a year to 13 billion a year is because of the people. With drugs, they have to make it, bring it across the border, ship it to another state, pay a drug dealer on the street to sell it, then collect the money. With people, they bring cash in hand. So the cartels have become extremely cash rich.
If they get a young girl, say 12, 14 years old, over here and exploit her into the sex trade or even into a sweatshop somewhere, what's that worth to the cartel across time?
Could be anywhere from probably 25,000 over their lifespan in that sex trade or work trade to 100,000 or more.
I've seen reports everywhere from 6 or 7 million to as high as 20 million that they're bringing across. So we're talking about a lot of money.
I think the number of gotaways could be double of that.
Yeah.
Because the gotaways are based on what they see on their cameras.
Right.
And we know from inside sources that not even all their cameras are working or on.
I mean, it's just too much. There's too many square miles out here. Like I say, it's the size of Connecticut.
We have more than 3,500 cameras in the desert areas. There is a command center down in Cochise County, the Sabre building, where they actually are monitoring those cameras as well.
And when you see movement out there, particularly at night, how hard is it to distinguish between animal movement and human movement?
You can clearly see the people carrying backpacks with camouflage clothes, carpet shoes, backpacks. I could show you 50 places in the desert at least where there is just piles and piles of trash and backpacks and camouflage clothes and carpet shoes.
Do they know where the cameras are?
We caught this vehicle up on a different highway, even further north, trying to bypass us. They ended up having one man, two women, and a child in there. The women were on credit, $13,000 on credit. They took the cameras off the trees and took all the SD cards out of them.
And how did you find out they were on $13,000 credit?
I asked the girl after we bandaged her blistered feet. I said, how much did you pay? And she said $13,000.
And what do you do with these people once you do apprehend them?
So Border Patrol will come and get them. And most of them are being distributed way too quickly, which is how we're losing so many of these children.
So you turn them over to Border Control, and then Border Control, and I'm not saying that I've got a good alternative, but they're taking tax dollars and using that to finance the cartel's second leg of the journey.
Yes.
Once they get here, we finance getting them to the cartel's distribution center.
Yes. And so we're funding this. We're funding the trafficking of children, and the cartels know this.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. Supply chain issues are on the rise, whether caused by natural disasters like Hurricanes Helene and Milton, global conflict, or worldwide inflation. The impacts are being felt across the board. When there's an urgent need for essential items like medications, these delays can become catastrophic. In the face of disruptions and cutoffs, how will you care for yourself and your loved ones? The Jace case provides peace of mind for families during times of shortages, delays, and disaster. It's an emergency medication kit containing 5 life-saving antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. By completing a simple online evaluation, you'll be prepared for the unexpected. Don't wait until it's too late. The time to prepare is now. Right now, you can receive a discount on your Jace case. Just go to jace.com and enter promo PHIL at checkout. That's promo code PHIL at Jace, JASE.com, ensuring you have the right medications when you need them most.
Who are all these people?
Not sure their names. They're hitchhikers.
They look like they just crossed the border. I mean, they got camouflage clothes, so.
You have 4 illegals in your car. I guarantee you were getting paid at least $1,000 for each one of these, and you're trying to pretend like we're stupid. She has a grip of perfume in the center console, because typically when people come out after hiking several days, you don't always smell real great. And then we got all these cardboard here, which obviously is to keep her brand new car clean. Clearly, this is something she does all the time. She applied to play us for fools, but she's gonna go with Border Patrol today.
That was Sheriff Mark Lamb. He patrols the Interstate 10 freeway from Tucson to Phoenix, an area infamously known as Smuggler's Highway. His job is to stop the illegal transportation of drugs and humans from Mexico into the United States through Arizona. But the smugglers aren't gun-toting cartel members. Many of them are U.S. citizens or other undocumented aliens trying to pay off their own smuggling debt. I went on a ride-along with Sheriff Lamb, and it did not take long for us to find trouble. Border Control, and I'm not saying that I've got a good alternative, but they're taking tax dollars and using that to finance the cartel's second leg of the journey.
Yes. And we get frustrated because we're fighting against our own government in a way. First of all, they failed to do their job by securing the border. We flew our helicopter from a place called San Miguel to Nogales, all along the border. We saw people crossing over. We saw Mexican military on the Mexico side. We saw scouts in the mountains. We did not see a single Border Patrol truck in that 150 miles. Because all of those resources have been pulled over to processing people that are coming into this country illegally.
How do you turn the tide if they don't change, if they don't enforce the law at the border?
You can't. All we're doing is we're plugging holes, and we're plugging finger-size holes, and there's cannonball-size holes. That way we're looking for guns and drugs, or guns and money going back to Mexico. This way we're looking for people, and we're looking for drugs coming in. We've got our anti-smuggling guys out today too.
Close that window.
There's a lot of
Adam, 02 King, I-10 westbound.
All right, we're on Smuggler's Highway, and they have stopped a load vehicle, which is a car carrying illegals, human trafficking here, and we're on that stop right now with Sheriff Lamb in Pinal County.
So he crossed it illegally a few years ago and paid $7,000. And then the 2 guys inside the vehicle also don't have paperwork. ¿Cuándo cruzaste?
Ya tengo 3 años.
3 years ago. ¿Y pagaste 7,000?
Sí.
¿En efectivo o en crédito?
No, efectivo.
¿Ha subido, no?
Sí, bastante.
¿Sale más?
Bueno, dice que cuesta a veces más, no sé.
Sí.
Has he paid back what he owes?
He says he paid in cash the original when he first came across. So he didn't do it any. ¿Y te dieron un cochote o no?
Ah, sí. Sí, una persona que...
So you had a person that helped them get across. They had a coyote.
But they paid them?
Yeah. ¿Y si no pagan?
No, no, se echan atrás o a migración.
¿Qué hacen los carteles?
O los carteles, lo secuestran a uno hasta que... Tengo entendido que eso dice, que lo secuestran a uno y luego piden a la familia más dinero. Todo.
I asked him what happens if you don't pay the cartels. He says they'll hold you until you pay, or they'll go after your the family until you pay. Buena suerte.
Gracias.
All right, we'll head back to the hangar.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
Thank
ride.
you, Dr. Phil. We appreciate you coming out and seeing what we're dealing with.
What I was impacted by is how quickly you guys spot something that looks out of sorts.
You know, you saw Amanda.
Right.
Just out of experience, they look for certain things. She noticed a vehicle, but the vehicle was driving in the left lane, camping in the left lane, like I like to say. It's supposed to be in the right lane except to pass. So she initiated a stop on it, ended up having 3 people in the car that admitted they would come into this country illegally.
So at this point, they'll turn them over to Border Patrol. What's likely to happen to them?
Unfortunately, they're likely to release them back into the community again, maybe give them a court date to show up to court. But normally we would kick them over and then Border Patrol would likely remove them. That was the way it used to be. Now, most of them are released into the country.
And so many of them get kicked loose into the country. How do you keep morale up? How do you get up every day and go out and keep doing this, knowing that it's probably going to result in some paperwork and them going on their way? How do you keep morale up with your people?
Love a country. You know, these are men and women that put on the badge regardless of what the outcome is. They are committed to doing what they need to do, and we're not going to raise the white flag just because it doesn't look like it's going our way. We're going to keep going out, doing our job. You know, and my community expects me to do the job, whether the federal government or anybody else fails doing theirs. My community expects us to do our job, and so my men and women do it, and they, God bless them, because they do have a good attitude. And I try to create the best work environment for them so that they can continue to have a good attitude and go out and do this job.
Well, you certainly lead by example, I can tell you that. And I've followed you for a long time. I've met a lot of the men and women who work with the sheriff, work for the sheriff. And I can tell you, they do have good morale. They are out there doing their jobs every day. And for those of us that take it for granted, we should not. It's hard work, it's hot out there, it's dangerous out there. They can get run over, they can get shot, they can get hurt. And those of you that live in these counties, you ought to appreciate this man and the people that work for him, because I certainly do. So, Sheriff, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that praise. I appreciate it. God bless you.
It's well-deserved.
Thank you.
All right.
The cartels are looking for their drivers on social media, whether it's TikTok, Snapchat. A lot of the drivers we have, especially the ones that run from us, tend to be in that 16 to 18-year-old range. Can you imagine the fear that sets into those kids' minds and hearts the second they see the lights come on behind them and they know they're in big trouble? Many of those kids are willing to do whatever it takes to not be caught.
Penal County Sheriff Mark Lamb says the cartels are actually recruiting teenagers, some as young as 12 years old, to be their drug and human smugglers. It's turning our Arizona highways into a dangerous raceway. We're talking high-speed chases that put everyone on the road at risk. And sometimes it ends tragically. Take the story of Wanda Sitowski. Her daughter Valerie says her mother's life was cut short when a 16-year-old smuggler running from the law crashed right into her, killing her instantly.
Our mother was a single mom of 3 children. My mom and my brother resided here in Benson, Arizona. They shared an incredible bond. My brother was diagnosed in October of 2020 with stage 4 colon cancer. October 30th, 2021, my brother had made special arrangements for my mom's 65th birthday dinner. While our mother was driving to the restaurant, my brother was on the Bluetooth in the car with her. He was anxious waiting for her with her friends. and the call just cut out. He never could have imagined what was happening to her. She was T-boned at 115 miles per hour. She was hit by a 16-year-old driving his mother's stolen car. She started to move through the traffic light, and he came barreling through, split her car in half and threw her car 120 yards. He was transporting 4 illegal immigrants.
There's 2 more undocumented. I believe they picked up 2 more undocumented down that way. Okay.
And he fled off at speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour. 11 months after our mother's tragedy, my brother Edward died of a broken heart. I believe that the border crisis killed our mother.
Thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you for taking our story and having it be important.
I worry sometimes that people hear about border and immigration and illegals coming into the country, and it becomes abstract. And I think it's critically important that we put a face to this and let people know that this has a real impact on real people, and it had a real impact on you.
The trauma and the impact has been profound.
Now, the driver of the car was not illegal. It was an American citizen that had been paid to transport these people, correct?
Correct.
And that's something that has become a phenomenon near the border, where they're placing enticements, ads on social media platforms and all.
Yes.
Feel like this didn't have to happen.
It easily could have been prevented.
Why do you say that? Why did it happen? How could it have been prevented?
If the border was closed and the border was not in crisis, this would not have happened.
But that's not the case. So these 4 people entered the country illegally. Your belief is this young man was hired to pick them up and take them further into the country.
Yes.
Do you know how much he was paid?
He was guaranteed that if he did not have to go through a checkpoint, a Border Patrol checkpoint, he would receive $800 per UDA that was in the car. And if he did have to go through a checkpoint, he would receive $2,000 per UDA in the car. He chose to go through a checkpoint.
And as a result, your mother dies. And what's happened to the young man?
He is sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. The process to get to that point was excruciating, and I watched this criminal have more rights than myself and my family in this situation.
And he's incarcerated now?
Yes.
Do you feel any sense of justice has been served in this?
I do not. At the end of the day, I can't bring my mother back. My brother passed away as a result of all the stress and the grief, being a cancer patient and having to deal with this turmoil.
I understand you did have a law enforcement advocate that was at least standing up for you.
Mm-hmm.
And who was that?
Sheriff Daniels from Cochise County.
You've spoken to him, you've never actually met.
We have spoke. He has dealt with my brother.
Well, this is Sheriff Daniels here. I'd like for you two to meet.
It's nice to meet you.
You too.
This case was important to you as well. Why?
It really kind of kicked off the tragedies we're seeing in our county, and it hit home. And the impact that had on not just you and your family, but our community was devastating.
I just have to thank you for what you have done, what you do for your community, and what you're doing for our country.
We're not going to give up hope. I promise you that.
You guys are fighting an uphill battle right now, but you keep getting up every day, putting one foot in front of the other, and it just means so much. And I thank you. Lives are being destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
Families are being destroyed. This is real.
An influx of migrants at the southern border led to street releases starting today in Cochise County.
We're going to see the asylees overwhelming the capacities of the United States Border Patrol in southern Arizona. The numbers are so much that the government doesn't have the ability to hold them, so they have to release them.
Arizona has become a hotspot for illegal crossings, and that's because of the massive expanse of land that makes it easy to get away. Cochise County has 6,219 square miles of very rugged terrain. They share 84 miles of border with Mexico. That makes it easy for people to slip through undetected. And right smack in the middle of all of this, we've got Cochise County Sheriff Mark Daniels and his team trying to protect his citizens from the cartels. Well, Sheriff Daniels, thanks for sitting down and talking to me.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
I just wanted to point out that we're in this hangar because it wasn't hot enough in the sun.
Oh, it's hot.
So we came in here where it's more like an oven.
It is.
No, actually, we're in this hangar because this is the Pinal County Sheriff's hangar, and there is an area around here about the size of Connecticut. So it takes about 3,500 cameras and helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft to try and monitor this area for people coming north from the border through Arizona. But in addition to your county and 2 others, about 25% of the gotaways in the entire country come through your area here.
That is correct, Dr. Phil. My area, it's all gotaways. These are people that don't want to be caught. They're being smuggled by the cartels. Either they're aggravated deportees, violent criminal records, countries of interest, or they have no control because the cartels control 100% of them. So these are the highest risk of people coming into the country in this area.
Okay, and you contrast to what you call give-ups.
Yes.
And the give-ups are the ones that get across the border and seek border control so they can get automatic asylum.
Correct.
Be released into the country with a cell phone, a debit card, and a ticket somewhere,
Yep.
and an appointment for an asylum hearing in 7-8 years.
That's correct.
But the ones that are coming through Arizona are bad actors.
Very bad actors.
And why Arizona? Why are they coming through Arizona instead of California or Texas, or why here?
We're probably the least populated areas, so the odds of getting caught, a lot of concealment, they come through my county, cartel smuggler drivers pick them up and away they go north. You look at the amount of fentanyl coming through Arizona, which leads the nation. 5 years ago, in 2020, there was a little over 2 million fentanyl pills brought across the border in Arizona. Last year seized was 111 million fentanyl pills in less than 4 years.
Wow.
4 years. We have a problem. This country has a problem. And
Well, you understand that's why I'm here.
yes, and I
Because
thank you for that.
First off, who's controlling the border?
Right now, the criminal cartels do. These transnational organizations that control the south side of the border also controls what crosses that border from California all the way to Texas. In my county, in 31 months, Dr. Phil, 31 months, we booked 3,762 people in my jail for border-related crimes, not immigration issues, border-related crimes, up to double-digit murders in my county from smuggling.
What happened in the chase last night?
So we have an interdiction team, Dr. Phil, that's all they do is interdict illicit drugs coming across the border to include human smuggling and human trafficking. Team was out last night.
So we're here at the Safeway in Bisbee, just kind of keeping an eye out for a vehicle that has caught the interest of Border Patrol. Pretty sure that's it. And the male subject sitting in the driver's seat, he's waiting for instructions as to where to go to pick up undocumented aliens. I happened to be in the right place at the right time when I observed the vehicle traveling east. Upon me turning around to try and effect a traffic stop on it, it quickly turned into a gas station. Hello, how are you? Whoa!
Okay. Copy, Punchy.
Don't move! Don't move right now! Stay right there! I'll shoot you! Hands up!
Driver exited the vehicle and ran, tried to go over a fence.
He jumped over a fence into somebody's backyard, Due to the low light, he didn't see that there was a drop off, a ledge, and when he landed, he unfortunately broke his leg.
Medics are on scene now. He's being treated. It's my understanding that he is an undocumented alien himself. When these guys cross the border, or they're smuggled across the border, they make coordination with the cartels a lot of the time. And in conjunction with that coordination, they agree to pay the cartel. The average going rate, this can change depending on nationality, how far you come, but the average going rate that we hear on the ground is that they agree to pay the cartels $8,000. That may be $8,000 that they don't have. So the cartel says, okay, I'll smuggle you across the border, and then they're pushed into work. So we're seeing an uptick in undocumented alien drivers, and that leads to where we're sitting at right now, is they're working off debt, and he is now being apprehended on felony charges and a broken leg.
As soon as he gets healed up, we will charge him accordingly for that.
And what will he be charged with?
Human smuggling. Arizona has a state statute for human smuggling, class 2 felony, which is a very severe charge. He'll be charged for failure to yield, endangerment, and all of the accessory charges that go with that.
So that can keep him from being released under an asylum policy. You can prosecute him on those state charges.
You bet. And I'll give you an example where this is really important. We've seen more assaults on law enforcement agents, officers, troopers, and deputies over the last 3 years I've ever seen in my life. Threats toward us, you can't imagine what the cartels are doing. They're emboldened right now, Dr. Phil.
Because you hear people all the time say there's not an increase in crime among the illegal immigrants in this country. This is not a violent population. That's not true in Arizona.
It's not true. 40 to 44% of all my jail population is border-related crimes as a result of this border that's not manageable anymore.
So this isn't a close call with you.
It's not a close call. Statistics tell a story. People tell reality.
Very clear. Where are the cartels making the most money now? Are they making it off the drugs, or are they making it off the human trafficking?
It's human. I call it the crime that keeps giving, because these people that are here actually looking for a better way of life become servitude to the cartels. I call it modern-day slavery.
We were talking earlier with Valerie, who lost her mother. It seems now that the cartels are actually recruiting American teenagers. We looked at some of the ads they're putting on social media where they're saying, hey, easy money, big money, as they can make as much as $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 by picking up illegals and trafficking them further up into the country. And some of these are 16-year-olds, and some of it results in high-speed chases.
Right.
It went over the overpass. Go ahead and notify EMS.
We're gonna get you out!
A 16-year-old driver, a 17-year-old passenger, and a 14-year-old passenger that was down there to smuggle saw my deputies, took off at high deadly speeds, crashed. They were all ejected from the vehicle and all were in critical condition. These kids are all recruited through social media, which is their best friend in many ways.
And there have been chases where they've crashed, been thrown from the vehicle, they've collided with others.
You know, Dr. Phil, it's a lose-lose. We chase them, that's why we have some of the best operational interdiction plans in the country, because we do so much of it.
You had a deputy almost killed last year trying to intercept human smugglers. Tell me what happened.
He was working interdiction, and vehicle fled at 100 miles an hour. The deputy tried to put spikes, which are tire deflation devices. The car went over the spikes at 100 miles an hour. As he was pulling them back, he went over a guardrail, fell about 15 feet on a cement pad into a wash. He had multiple broken bones, pelvic, leg, and then he had brain damage as a result. We didn't think he was going to make it, Dr. Phil. My deputy, it was a miracle. He's a former Marine, fought through it, and now back on the job. Nobody ever saw that coming.
Are these border control officers now actually enforcing the border, or have they become social workers? It seems like they're spending more time processing than they are enforcing.
The priority is not border security, Dr. Phil. It's about expedited immigration. How quick can we get them in the country? That is the priority of this administration. We see it play out every day.
Well, Sheriff Daniels, You had a very distinguished career in the military, so you've put in your time. Why are you getting up every day and pushing this heavy rock up a muddy hill?
You know, I've served government for 42 years, 40 in law enforcement, 2 in the military. All I know is government. I took an oath for the country in the military. I took an oath for my community and state here as a sheriff, and I still believe in hope. Hope is confidence to me. I look at it this way: if I give up hope, I need to resign as a sheriff. I believe in doing what's right, and ethically and morally and legally, and I'm gonna keep doing that until something changes, and I can walk away from this job saying I made a difference. And right now, it's hard to make that difference.
Do you believe that the people that put you in this job want what you want?
I do. In my county, I do. We just did our primary elections, and I got the most votes in the county. I'm honored that. I'm honored for the men and women that serve and wear a badge in my county, to include the deputies. I mean, we stand united down there.
Well, I hear you, and you know I bleed blue. I stand behind law enforcement every day and stand up for you guys, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate and believe in what you're doing. We need you on that highway. We need you in that desert. If people like you throw your hands up, we're in a lot of trouble.
Thank you. And Dr. Fowler, just say on behalf of America's sheriffs and all those who wear a badge, state, local, and federal, we need you too. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce you. This is also my sergeant over our anti-smuggling unit, Danny Tabor.
Danny, Phil McGraw, how are you?
Danny Tabor, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Very good.
We got Corby. Corby's one of our helicopter pilots and plane pilots.
Corby, how are you? Phil McGraw.
Nice to meet you, Phil.
Good to meet you. How's everything?
We got Lieutenant Jim Rimmer. He is the lieutenant over our aviation
Jim,
unit.
Dr. Phil, good to meet you. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Dan Campbell, our sergeant over our search and rescue.
Dan, how are you?
The other guys are in the back. We got Tomasetti and Nichols.
Hey guys, how are you?
Luis is our mechanic.
How you doing? Let me say hello to everybody. What's your name?
Luis.
Luis, good to meet you.
Chad.
Chad, how you doing?
Josh.
Good to meet you, Josh.
Meet you.
How you doing? So who flies this thing?
He does. We have 300 search and rescue calls with all of our mountains, with all the work we do with Border Patrol. These guys probably spend 80+% of their time on Border Patrol missions, pulling people out of the deserts. Corby has been our pilot for a long time, and he keeps threatening to promote to sergeant, and we keep discouraging him because we need a good pilot.
Yeah, of course.
A good pilot is hard to find, so.
Hey, it's good to meet you guys.
Good to meet you.
And listen, I know people always say thank you for your service, kind of like good morning. Really, seriously, thank you for what you're doing. We don't take that for granted. I don't take it for granted. You guys put yourselves in harm's way to keep the rest of us safe, and we really appreciate it. That's not just something we say easy. I really mean that when I say it. So thank you guys. We really mean that. I do mean it. These men and women work tirelessly to protect our borders, and tonight, you just got to see a glimpse of it. It's high time we started addressing this issue head on, because it's affecting every corner of our nation, from the border towns to the big cities. We need real solutions, not just political rhetoric. So when you go to vote in November, know who you're voting for. Tomorrow, we'll hear how these gotaways go undetected, and you're going to be surprised. Tomorrow, it's become the most popular route for smugglers from Mexico.
It's just littered with camouflage clothes and backpacks.
What it looks like to me is you're smuggling people up to Phoenix. Somebody's getting paid to transport these individuals.
What do you think the Sinaloa cartel is grossing a year?
In the billions.
Just wanting a better life is not a reason for asylum.
They say, well, the gang violence. And my question would always be, why'd you leave your family behind?
What needs to happen at the border? That's tomorrow night.